And here we are once again to talk about the last week of Celebrity Big Brother 3. This is episodes 6 through 7. We're at episode 71, I think, Allie, because we had 69 and we got excited for that. I think we're at 71 when it comes to a conversation with Kely. But of course, as always, I am here with my lovely and beautiful co-host, Allie. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I had the day off, which was nice because I took one of my stat.
I was asked to come in.
Well, I took one of my stat days because we need to start taking those more. So, yeah. But other than that, my day has been pretty chill. I saw the movie Marry Me.
I saw that too. I will eventually be reviewing that one. But, let's talk about this season a little bit because I will be honest. I think we are starting to get to a point where my hopes for this season are starting to dwindle, Allie. I'm not going to lie to you. I think my hopes are starting to dwindle quite a bit. I'm not hating it, but I just feel like this season is going in a very dull direction. That being said, there were some really good moments this week that I very much did enjoy. The way things are heading, it's not really playing out in the way that I really hoped it would. And that's more so directed at like things that are happening in this next week. So we can't really talk about that. I want to talk about this week overall, which not a ton to talk about, to be honest with you.
I will say it's not a bad season. It's just some things are very frustrating, but there's definitely a lot of gameplay, which I like.
But what would you call it good? Because I certainly wouldn't.
Some people are doing good. Some people are doing bad.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't I'm not going to say I hate the season, though.
Yeah. So we're just going to go ahead and get into this week. Obviously, we're talking about the episodes on both Wednesday and Friday. So we see right at the beginning here, Kattan is very confused about what is happening and why he's still here. And they all feel that Mirai was too strong. And again, I asked the question, how? How did she prove this? Like, what did Mirai do to prove that she was like this? And I'm not saying she wasn't. Like, she was a very strong competitor in the sense that like she was always fighting to be there. But what exactly did Mirai do to be proven to be such an early threat? I don't feel like they even gave her room to play. Like, it just, I don't know. The whole narrative with Mirai.
They were just very threatened by a young girl.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing with Mirai, it just really frustrates me. Even her, I think she said in the house, like, she called them all boomers and things like that, which I think is really funny. I just don't, she did not have a good experience at all. And I think, honestly, she's better off not being in that house because of the way things are starting to go. But everyone confronts Kattan on wanting him to leave. I thought some people were like very overly harsh here. The other Chip Skylark especially, I thought was very harsh to him, where he's like, "Well, we know you want to leave," and I'm like, "Then why didn't you vote him out?"
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to be this harsh about it, why didn't you just go ahead and vote him out? Just give him that courtesy. And, but they do talk about how he has the biggest heart, but doesn't really fully understand the game. And I think, again, we've talked about this. I just don't think he wants to. I don't think Chris generally wants to play the game. I think he's not really in a mindset where he wants to play. He's there to have fun. He's there to make friends. He doesn't really care about the strategical aspect. And at this point, like, that's fine. And I think they should have been more than willing to give him a vote because of that, but they didn't, and now here we are.
I feel so bad for him though. Like, I just want to give him a
because I mean, I talked about it in our last podcast how like we have been in that predicament before where it's like we had someone that wanted to leave but they were good for our game, so we kept them around. And it proved to be a mistake because that person's head was just never fully in the game because of it. And I think when it comes to Kattan, like, this was not someone that they needed to keep around. He wasn't really benefiting anyone. He's not really here to play the game. He wants to leave. Just let him leave. And I think we see more than ever that should have happened. They absolutely should have voted out Kattan last week because I think if they did, things would have played out very differently this week than they did. But unfortunately, That is not the case. So Shanna feels that they made the right move and that Mirai was a fierce competitor that would have taken them all out one by one. Probably the most logical reasoning I've heard from anyone as to why Mirai was a fierce competitor. I do think that Shanna was onto something there, but I also think it's like, she's trying to go with the house and things like that, and she's trying to like rationalize, things. I think that's the main reason why she did what she did. She's trying to not show her cards. So Chip Skylark talks with Shanna and asks if they missed their opportunity to take out Todrick. And while he feels that they did, it hinged on whether or not Kattan understood the game enough to vote with them. And now they both have to work to get him out, which makes him very nervous. I don't think this mattered, to be honest with you. I think he would have kept Mirai regardless because of how much he absolutely adored her. Like, how many times has he talked about how he sees Mirai as like this younger daughter of sorts, someone that he cares for, like someone that he is like inspired by. Like, I think no matter what happened, he would have kept Mirai. So I don't know why like they use that as a reasoning to they
had such a sweet friendship.
Yeah, and I think especially if he would have just like taken the bullet and put up, like if he would have just ripped the Band-Aid off and put up Todrick, I think that Kattan would have been more than willing to vote him out. So yeah, but of course that's not the case, and here we are. And Todd and Lamar then talk with Miesha, and she brings up how the biggest threat, again, just constantly pressing about Carson. I'll be honest with you, she talks a lot about Carson. I literally stopped taking notes every time she brought it up because it's so repetitive. Carson's the biggest threat in the house, and he's a big social threat, and we can't let him get it. We fucking get it. Like, I'm not even going to talk. I've exhausted my energy when it comes to this, Allie. So I'm just not going to bring it up anymore when it comes to how much Miesha is just pushing so fucking hard for Carson to go. It's like beating a dead horse at this point. Like, it's not even worth talking about. But what is worth talking about is Carson and I hope I lisp there for a second. Carson and Cynthia talk about how my tongue got in the way there. Okay. Jesus Christ. Okay. Hold on. Okay. Carson and Cynthia talk about how unhappy everyone was with Miesha winning, and they all agree that they need her out and that she's very much running things and that she's going to start picking people off from their group, and one of them has to win HOH. Like, no matter what happens here, they have to gun for this HOH. I really like the way that they set this up. You can tell that they're very determined to make this happen. The HOH goes down, and we get the most random, and I mean random, cameo we could have gotten. I mean, Celebrity Big Brother 2 is not a season I hold in very high regard. There are a few positives, but my love for Kely is not really one of them. I don't really understand why they just randomly brought him back here. I feel like he's one of the more forgettable. Well, I wouldn't say forgettable because he has that really good fight with Lolo where he calls her out about like taking acting class and things like that. But like, I don't think anyone thinks of Celebrity Big Brother 2 and thinks of Kely. Like, I could be wrong, but I don't think anyone thinks of Kely when talking about that season. So I just thought this was a really random cameo. But basically, this is the comp where they've done it so many times before. They have to strip off a bunch of clothes, but they have to do it while holding down like 3 buttons. And then they take a dip into the hot tub. And unfortunately, the worst possible outcome happens here with Miesha dominating this comp and is now the new HOH, which I will say she had a very impressive score of 555. But
that's impressive, but
this woman just keeps winning things, Allie, and I'm just so annoyed. Like, I want her out.
It's literally the most boring outcome.
Yeah, like I've talked about before how I don't think Miesha's a good player and how I think that most of her decisions in the game have been completely ridiculous. And honestly, I think the only reason Miesha has been getting away with the things that she did is because a lot of these people just aren't very good at Big Brother. Like, I think if this was a normal season, I think Miesha would probably be out of the house by now with how many terrible decisions she's made, including this week. This week, alone, she makes really stupid decisions.
She's just not very strategic.
Yeah, so that already annoys me. Then it's also about this power structure. It's like, it's very clear so far to me that this is one of those seasons where there's an obvious power structure and nobody is doing anything to dismantle it. And it's just, it is so frustrating to watch. This was a very obvious, I think this was a very obvious moment that, like, they very well should have backdoored one of Miesha or Todrick last week. Like, no question about it. One of them should have been on the block because, I don't think that this would have happened. I mean, Miesha still might have won, but, like, I don't think that things would have played out the way that they did, quite the way that they did. If, let's say, Miesha and Todrick were not still there. But at this point, like, they're just in such, like, lockstep of this game. I feel like they're getting to the end, and it sucks, but I do feel like that could potentially end up happening at this point with the way things are just kind of going for them.
We'll see.
But yeah, let's talk about this very exciting HOH week.
Oh yeah. So Carson, Cynthia, and Shayna
Carson?
Carson, Cynthia, and Shayna are very worried about this win and are trying to figure out the best way to survive in this game. Cynthia says she could see herself being on the block, but is hoping with Kattan being very adamant about going home, she can use that as a way to stay off the block for the week.
Which I thought was a good strategy. Like, I think that makes total sense. Like, when in doubt, when someone wants to leave a game, like, you need to push that as hard as you can, because that will hopefully deflect any other names from getting out there. But again, these people are not very smart when it comes to Big Brother. They don't do the obvious thing here. They like to throw some curveballs, and unfortunately this didn't get like
there's not very many smart ones in this season.
Yeah, no, unfortunately this didn't get any traction whatsoever.
Miesha talks with Todrick and basically just restates how much she wants Carson out.
I literally tuned out of this conversation. Like, if anything else was said that was important, I didn't write it down, because the second that she was talking about Carson, I'm like, nope, move on. Like, I didn't even write anything else besides that.
I know. Ugh.
It's so exhausting.
And then Chris talks to Shayna and says that it would have been better for his game if Cynthia, Carson, or Shayna won, but is glad it wasn't Todrick because he is such a wild card.
Yeah, and I mean, to his credit, like, Chris, Chip Skylark, I have not been a fan of in this game very much at all. I think he's been relatively boring, but I actually was impressed by quite a few things that he did this week, because he proved that he's not really there for his own individual game. He's there to try to break up this power structure. He's recognizing that, like, these people are not good for his game. He needs to ally with, like, the Shannas and the Cynthias and the Carsons, and I think that's really good. So I like the fact that he put 2 and 2 together in that way. But it still doesn't change the fact that he's definitely not the best player. Definitely not the best player.
He's kind of boring, but I mean, he is actually pretty smart.
Yeah, I think he's definitely one of the more level-headed people in the house, even though he pulls what he does this week.
Oh, yeah. Miesha talks about her mom and how much she believed in her from day one and how hard she had to work to get to where she was, especially with how little money her mom had when she was younger.
And this was a good moment. For sure. I enjoyed seeing, Miesha's journey and things like that. I thought they did a good job with that.
Nice.
So, I've said a lot of not so nice things about Miesha, but this was a good moment. It was nice and wholesome. It was good development for her, showing how she got to this point. Good job. I like it when they do stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I thought that was nice for sure.
Yeah. I'm going to switch cameras real quick, but you can continue.
Okay. Miesha talks to Kattan about who she would put up and asks if he can trust her, which he says he's unsure about. And she tells him she isn't playing again for him because he isn't a threat to her at this point. And then
this was such an awkward conversation to watch. I mean, you can just tell that, like, Kattan does not care about the game, like, at all. He doesn't have an answer when she's like, are you someone I can trust? He's like, I don't know, no, but, like, I have you. Like, I thought that was a really funny exchange, the way that all went down. Because I thought it was pretty clear. Oh, there we go. I thought it was pretty clear that Kattan just did not benefit really anyone's game. It's another big red flag that you probably should have gone for him last week, and they didn't because they're idiots.
Yeah, I don't think he was just in the right mindset, and he's went through a lot, so it's not good for him.
Yeah, no, definitely
like for his health and everything.
Yeah.
Cynthia talks to Carson and lets him know what she heard, which really worries both of them.
Yeah, so Cynthia was like listening into that whole conversation, and obviously now she's worried that, well, this Kattan plan is not going to go through.
Miesha talks about how much she wants Carson out, of course, and that Cynthia doesn't talk much to her, which is bullshit.
Yeah, this was, that's a valid reasoning that someone doesn't talk to you as much, but I feel like Cynthia's at least tried to talk to Miesha. She's just been very, again, I've said this before with Miesha, she has no adaptability. She isn't willing to fix her position. She wants to just kind of stay where she is, and that's all she really cares about. Yeah.
She's predictable.
Yeah.
Todrick brings up how Chris almost put him up on his HOH last week, and that he is feeling very wary about letting him stay in this house.
Yeah, so this very much felt like Todrick made this decision over Miesha. At least the show kind of entertained it, edited it in that way. I don't know if that's fully the case, but it certainly seemed like Todrick had a lot of influence over this decision, because when you really think about it, putting up Chip Skylark is not good for Miesha's game. This is someone that said he was good with her, said he was loyal to her, even though he's not now. In her mind, she should not want to put him up.
Yeah, agreed. And then for her nominations, she does stick to her guns and nominates Cynthia and Carson for evictions.
And that's Wednesday. Let's get to Friday.
Carson and Cynthia are not shocked to be up, but Cynthia's disappointed Todrick didn't give her a heads up.
Yeah, and this is one of many points that I think we're seeing, that Todrick has the worst jury management I think I have seen in a very long time. I think that Todrick is forgetting that not only are all of these people going to be on a jury, every single person he's voting out, but there's no jury house in Celebrity Big Brother. They get to watch everything from home. They can watch live feeds. They can watch the show. They get to watch everything. And I don't think Todrick is thinking about that at all. I really do see Todrick becoming like a 0 vote finalist at this point. I think that's going to happen to him.
He'd probably get 1 vote from Miesha.
Yeah. I do see, at this point, I do see him getting to the end, because I don't think they'll be able to go for him. But I don't think I think he's definitely going to have one of the most epic losses in Big Brother history, which is the way he's playing this game right now. I don't know how he expects to win. Just the things that he's doing, the things that he's saying, the way that he phrases things to people. It's all so bad. Todrick is so bad at this game, and this is easily.
He makes a lot of things personal.
Yeah, he does that too, which I don't like either. But I think in terms of the worst thing for Todrick, I think the worst thing his worst quality is jury management. That's easily the worst component of Big Brother for him. He's just not good at that at all. It's some of the worst I've seen in a while, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. Carson doesn't understand why Miesha is making this week so hard on herself when Kattan has asked to be voted out multiple times.
Exactly. I feel like it's there's this big, giant, neon sign near Chris Kattan saying, "Vote me out, put me on the block, put me on the block," and she just walks right past it.
Todrick feels Carson is the biggest threat to his game because of how well liked he is.
Which, again, I don't understand. I don't understand why he thinks Carson is such a threat. Carson wasn't going to put him up for, the longest time, and now he only recently is, because he knows Todrick isn't with him. I just don't understand this.
Todrick clears the air with Cynthia to let her know that he isn't not fighting for her.
I didn't understand what he was really saying here at all. Like, he talks about how, I still have you just because of the fact that, like, you know, you're on the block. I had nothing to do with this or anything like that. And like, it's bullshit. Like, at this point, if Todrick really had Cynthia, what you should do in that scenario, especially if he's trying to protect her, which he never at any point this week said that, like, I'm trying to protect Cynthia. What he should have done is go to Miesha and say, yeah, I don't really like the idea of Cynthia going up. I think Cynthia could actually be a good ally for us. Let's go for this person instead. Like, that's what he should have done, and that's not what he did. So I didn't buy this at all.
Oh no, same. Miesha then talks how after Carson, Chris is the next target. Ugh.
Which again doesn't make sense for her game, like, in any way.
Yeah, for her it's a terrible move.
No.
Like, her reads are so bad.
Yeah. I wouldn't even call them reads. I would literally just call it impulses. Like, she isn't thinking through anything that she's doing. It's like so impulsive in that way.
She's very flip-floppy.
Oh, I know. I wouldn't say she's flip-floppy because I think actually her problem is that
she was round 1.
Well, yeah, but I also think that, like, her problem is that she doesn't flip enough. Like, she doesn't try to flip her positioning. She's stuck with the same people pretty much, and she doesn't try to, like, improve that in any way, to where I think that would probably help her. But again, in a season where people are not playing the best, it might somewhat benefit her. I don't know. This cast is weird.
Yeah. Carson, Cynthia, and Shayna talk about how he needs to win the veto to not let them win, but Shayna is worried she will be backdoored if that were to happen.
Which is understandable. I feel like this is the first time, like, Shayna could have potentially been targeted, because we talked about, like, how phenomenal of a game Shayna's really been playing this whole season. This really does feel like this could be the first time that, like, maybe she ends up going on the block, because it's kind of obvious that she's with Carson and Cynthia, which, to be honest, I don't think she's made it obvious. I feel like people have come to that conclusion because she's not as close with them, or she hasn't, or they haven't made as much of an effort to, like, fully connect with her. But yeah, they seem, she's worried that she's gonna go on the block here.
Yeah. Chris knows that he has very little room to do anything with Miesha and Todrick in power, and throws out an idea to Shayna that if Carson comes down, they can put him up, which will help increase their odds.
Now, I want to ask you, what did you think of this specific move? Because normally, this is the kind of move that I would be laughing at. I would be saying, this is ridiculous. Why would you do this to yourself? But for me personally, and I want to hear your perspective, like, for me, I didn't have a problem with this because he knew full well that, like, he could end up going. I don't think he cared so much about leaving the game. He cared more about not letting Miesha's side win. I think that's what was most important to him.
Yeah, that's honestly what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
He was just trying to, like, not let that. Yeah, he just didn't want Miesha and Todrick to, like, stay in power and dominate the game. He wanted something completely different.
Yeah, so, like, normally, while this is a move that I would kind of be, like, shitting on.
He doesn't want anything predictable.
Yeah, I think while this is normally a move that I kind of just be, like, shitting on, I feel like here it made sense because he was willingly, like, sacrificing himself so the game could get more interesting. Like, he didn't really care if he went at, like, the behest of it. He just wanted to stir the pot a bit, and I will always champion. I will always get excited when people do that. Like, if anything, do anything you can to stir the pot, even if it doesn't fully benefit you. I'm still here for it because at least you tried to create some chaos, and that's exactly what good old Chip Skylark and his shiny teeth did here.
Exactly. After trying to stick it out for as long as he can, Chris Kattan walks into the diary room and makes the decision to quit the game.
Yeah, this was not shocking, I think, in the slightest. I feel like he probably ended up quitting just because, like, he knew they weren't budging. They weren't going to vote him out. He wanted to be voted out. He didn't want to be in the house anymore. I don't think they presented this well, I don't think they presented this well in the show. This kind of just felt like he walked in the house, he was tired, and then he left. Like, that's kind of all they depicted it as. I think they could have done a much better job at just kind of showing that, like, yeah, I'm not really into the strategical aspect. I kind of just want to be here for the fun of it all. And then you can kind of show him like gracefully leave. They made a very big deal out of this, and it just felt a little like they made a big deal, but then they didn't really bring it up again. It just felt kind of random to me. So I don't think they really did a great job when it came to this specific moment. But that being said, like I said, it's in no way shocking. Like, if I was in Chris Kattan's position where I'm in a house and I really don't want to be there, I really don't want to play the game, I really don't have any desire to continue the strategical aspect, I probably would have done the same thing. So honestly, I commend him for being the bigger person, just walking out of there because he wasn't going to stick around in an environment that he didn't enjoy. I think that's a very understandable thing to do. I think out of the Celebrity Big Brother quits, I think this is probably the one that I respect the most. Because the other ones, it was like, yeah, let's not have a vote, just vote me out here. When it came to like Keisha and like her breast milk, or Meta and him missing like his girlfriend, or Scaramucci quitting. Yes, he quit. I don't care what other people said. He quits. They like to cover it up, but he quits. I think this was probably the one I enjoyed the most, but I don't think that they did a very good job of depicting this very much at all. So he sends them this video message, talks about how difficult this experience has been for him, but makes sure to show all of them how much every one of them has impacted his life, and wishes them all luck. And I really enjoyed Chris Kattan this season. I think that he was a really fun character. Not at all someone that was there for the game, really just there to be fun, be everyone's friend. And, normally I don't really enjoy that. I like it when people are there to play the game. But I think in a season like this, where it's a bunch of celebrities, I think Chris Kattan didn't fully know what he was getting himself into. I think he just expected this to be like a fun experience. He didn't realize how serious it would be from like a game perspective, and I think he just wasn't really down for it. He just wanted to have some fun, and I think that's exactly he stayed until he wasn't having fun anymore. So I very much respect that. I think that he definitely was a lot of fun to watch, and wish him the best for sure. Wish him the best. Wish Chris Kattan the best.
He's just a really nice person, and then he was just fun to watch, and he was funny. So I definitely respect this for him.
Yeah, and now the question that a lot of people have been wondering, do you think he's going to come back for finale night? Because I think he will. I think he will come back, because every other quits that we've had, they've come back. Now, granted, those quits have been like they were voted out, but I do think that he's probably going to come back.
I can definitely see him coming back for sure.
Yeah, because I don't think he had like a horrible experience and wants to like disassociate from like the show or anything like that. I think it's literally just, this isn't my thing.
And it's also more because of his like health and stuff.
Well, I think it's also just like he just recognized like this isn't his thing. Like, this is not what he wants to do. He doesn't really want to be here anymore. So like he just left when he didn't really feel like playing. So yeah, that's Chris Kattan's exit. Like I said, just didn't really feel like that big of a deal. They really just kind of like showed it once, and then Julie's like, we wish Chris the best, and then moved on to something else. I get that they had to do that, but like, I don't know. I just would have liked a little bit more when it came to that specific thing, just to respect Chris Kattan a bit more. But that's what happens there. Let's get back more into the game. And also, this is the death of something that's really sad, Allie. Now that there's only one Chris in the house, I will no longer be referring to Chris Kirkpatrick as Chip Skylark, because now we know who I'm talking about. So I will just be saying Chris for the duration of this review, but not that much longer, because obviously what happened. But for the veto draw, Shayna, Lamar, Todrick are picked to play in the veto, along with Cynthia, Carson, and Miesha. And we get this really funny segment with Lamar and how confused he is about how the veto is going to work. He talks about how he doesn't think Cynthia is going to get a vote, even though she's going to be taken off the block. And again, I've said it so many times, I can't tell if this guy is trolling or if he is literally that clueless. But either way, like, I'm here for it.
Funny.
In a season where so many people are just so like horrifically bad at the game, someone being completely clueless in that way, it might just get him all the way to the end. Like Lamar hasn't pissed anyone off. No one's really on his radar. Nobody really wants to go for him. Like I think Lamar has a really strong chance of getting to the end of this game. I don't know if he's gonna win, but I think the way that he is going about it, I think he's going to be there for a very long time. And I'm very much here for whatever he's doing. I don't know what he's doing, to be honest with you. I don't think he fully understands the game, but I'm here for it nonetheless.
I love him so much, and he honestly, like, I'd be fine with him winning because he also is like very smart and strategic.
I don't know if I'd say strategic.
It's because he wanted to go for, if he won HOH, he would go for Todrick and Shane and Todrick and Miesha.
Yeah, he has good reads for sure. Again, I just can't tell how much of what he's doing is trolling or if he legitimately is that clueless. If he's trolling, then this is like a top tier strategy, like generally an amazing strategy. And
honestly, it could be because maybe he's just trying to play dumb.
Oh yeah, like this would be an amazing strategy if he is trolling. Oh, yeah. If he's not, then he's still really fun to watch nonetheless. Oh, yeah. I guess and we'll really just have to see what happens when we get to the end of this season. But the veto is similar to the comp in Big Brother 22, where everyone was humping fruit. This time around, it's a deer. And this comp is always really funny to watch just because of like the positions that they're in and things like that. A lot of vigorous movements going on. So basically they each have to stack snowflakes on the gauntlet, and whoever stacks the most wins. And once again, for the second time, Shayna does win the veto here. Probably the most exciting win of the season, I would say, because I generally didn't know what she was going to do. You know, she's really well insulated with both Carson and Cynthia. She really could have used this on either of them, or it could have been last week where she just realizes they don't have the votes and decides not to use it. I think there was like legitimately some very good tension here. Like, I think this was probably the highlight of the rest of the episode, is really like what is going to come from this veto win. But the idea that like she and one of Carson and Cynthia are all safe is amazing to see, because definitely Miesha wanted one of them out for sure. But Shayna is obviously ecstatic to have won this veto. Miesha's now wondering what's she gonna do when it comes to a replacement nom. And Todd then volunteers to go on the block, especially with how loyal Miesha has been to him. Todd is not doing it for me, like, at all. I'll be straight up. Like, I am not enjoying him. I don't think he is a very nice person. I don't think he's playing the game very well. I am just, like, every episode, I feel like I like Todd less and less as this goes on.
He's honestly such a disappointment. He's literally just there.
Yeah, he's and maybe he's doing more, but they really just aren't showing it at all. So basically, we see Chris, he talks to Shanna, and he tells her that the plan that Todd is likely going up, but he feels that they still have a chance to flip this vote. So what he decides to do is like willingly try to get Miesha to put him up here. And basically, Miesha gets the sense that something's off about Chris, and she wants to make sure that his loyalty is still with them. I don't really know how she came to this conclusion. I feel like Todrick kind of put this idea into her head. But basically, she's unsure whether or not Shayna pulls Cynthia down, but she needs to know what he would do since he would be the swing vote. And she says that she won't put him up unless he doesn't promise to put Carson up. He tells her that he's been loyal to her from the start, and she says she doesn't plan to send Todd home. And he says that he's looking out for her, but doesn't seem to give her an answer as to whether or not he's going to vote Todd out. And I'll be honest, like, I'm not usually this excited when someone is like blatantly trying to fuck themselves over, but I was here for it with Chris, because that's obviously like his goal. Like, he's willingly trying to get himself put on the block here, and I was all here for it. I thought it was a really fun moment. The way that she is like trying to get that answer out of him, and he's just like not budging. I thought it was great. I legitimately really liked this conversation a lot.
Same. That was iconic.
Yeah, so we have that happen, and basically Miesha then talks to Shayna about what she plans to do with the veto, and she attempts to convince her to not use the veto, which that's not going to happen. Shayna's not dumb. Like, she's not going to not use this veto this time around, and tells her straight up, like, I am playing my own game. Like, I don't care what you say. That's how it's going to go. And at the veto ceremony, Shayna does decide to use the veto, and she uses it on Carson. So Carson is off the block here, and Miesha then decides to put up Chris as a replacement, and really great stuff at this point. I mean, legitimately, this is the first time all season where I didn't know who was going to go. Like, I didn't know how this was going to play out. I didn't know what everyone was really going to think, and I like that. I like them when we go into the end of the week and we have some uncertainty, because Big Brother these days, it feels like it's pretty obvious who's going to go up from the get-go, from like the start of the week. So I'm glad to see that we ended a week and we didn't really know what was going to happen here. We see Chris is not really shocked to be up, but he's also hoping that this risk does end up paying off. And Todrick is like very much pushing for Chris to go. He wants him out of here as soon as possible. And we see this conversation with Shayna where she talks to Todrick and Miesha. And oof, this is one of the most infuriating moments from Miesha so far with the way this plays out. But Miesha brings up how she didn't want to be the first out, but she's still hoping that if she won HOH, that she wouldn't put up her and that she wouldn't put her up. And Shayna says that she wants to work with them. And she talks about how she feels that she would have gone up if one of them won the veto. And Miesha says that she gets it, but now the line has been drawn and Miesha sees her as an enemy. And I didn't understand why Miesha like just turned against her so quickly. Like, I feel like Shayna was trying to make it seem like she was on their side, and I guess Miesha felt threatened by the idea that like Shayna wasn't sure if she was going to keep her word. I mean, I really didn't know, but this was like a really bad moment for Miesha. I think she could have kept Shayna on her good side here, potentially work with her, you know, get her to come to some sort of agreement. Like, she could say like, hey, I know you used the veto here, but like, don't put me up next round and we can move forward. But she doesn't. This is what I'm talking about. Like, she doesn't even try to do something like that. It's much easier for her to just be like, yeah, I'm going to target this person. But again, she's not thinking about the fact that like there's still a lot of game left to play. You can't just like target everyone. And that's exactly what she's doing. And I do not like the way that she's handling this at all.
Ugh, me neither.
Very, very frustrating when it comes to Miesha. And again, I think Shayna was in the right with what she was doing. I really like the way that she was trying to convince Miesha that like she's still on her and Todrick's side. This is really the first time that hasn't fully worked for her. And I don't really think it's her fault. I think it's just Miesha, again, just really just made very haphazard decisions. She's done it all game and she continues to do it here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Miesha's definitely gone next. I hope.
Yeah.
Chris talks to Shayna and says that no matter what happened, they won, and the entire house just flipped and realized they may be the enemy and they're going to need to have to realize their days are numbered.
Yeah, I mean, this was like a really good moment where he talks about how, you know, they're not going to get what they want and things like that. And I feel like this was the point where Chris was like, you know what, I'll just go. Like, I don't really care what happens. I got what I wanted. I'm okay with leaving. You can see that Shayna's like kind of upset about that because she is losing her number one in that way. But I thought this was a really, really strong moment overall.
Yeah, I like this one a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Lamar brings up to Todd how Cynthia voted him out the first week. Todd then goes to confront her about it, and she explains to him why she voted that way and that he needs to get past it.
Yeah, and I do want to get into this whole thing. This fight really just kind of came out of nowhere because we had this moment before this where Julie's sitting down, she's asking them like questions about current events, and I thought we were just gonna get right into the vote there because that's usually what happens when we cut to like the house guest, but it's like, Yeah, before there was vote flipping, there was another thing that happened that could cause even more flips. And I was like, what the hell is this? Like, this really came out of nowhere overall.
Yeah, this was such a gross, like, segment.
Yeah.
He tells her if she cuts his throat, he cuts hers, and she tells him to honor that because he was never working with her and it was never personal. And she goes as far as to tell him she doesn't want.
Think that was.
And she goes as far to tell him she doesn't want his vote.
Yeah, and I want to say I think she was right in the beginning, saying like, look, you were never with me. Like there was no reason for you to think you had my votes. There was no reason for him to feel like betrayed by her or anything like that. But it's what happens after this that is just very intense.
So a fight begins when she calls him out for him protecting his people and how hypocritical he is being. Yeah, this was so gross. This whole fight how he treated her.
Yeah, like getting in her face and things like that. I really don't like Todd at all. Like I'm all here for fights and things like that, but just the way he handled it, no, I was not.
No.
I was not here for this at all.
Cynthia
didn't deserve really any of that. It was so unprompted. And I like you can say Lamar like kind of instigated it, but I think what Lamar was really trying to do is that he was just trying to push for Cynthia to go. I think that was he was just trying to see like where Todd's head was at, and Todd just like blew up at Cynthia for like really no reason at all.
Chris talks about how much he doesn't want to campaign against Cynthia and hopes they do what's best for them. Cynthia thanks everyone, but says her word and loyalty is everything and that they should respect it.
Yeah, and we're getting into the eviction here. I forgot to write that note.
And after a bunch of scrambling, with a unanimous vote, Kirkpatrick is the next person evicted from Celebrity Big Brother.
Which honestly, I was kind of sad about. I was like, damn, he's actually like starting to play the game. He's impressing me a bit more, but I'm glad that it was him over Cynthia. That's what I will say. I'm glad
I was surprised that Shayna actually voted him out, but she was probably just trying to stay. Well, she probably did that to stay on people's good side.
Yeah, Shayna, I think, is trying to play like the most like fluid game possible, really just kind of like going from one side to the next. And I think with the game that she's playing, she kind of has to just like cut people even when she doesn't really want to. Like I think in her mind, like if she was only working with that side, like yeah, she probably would have voted for Chris to stay, but she's trying to play a game in which like everyone feels good with her. And I think the best way for her to go about that was to keep Chris. But yeah, I was not expecting a unanimous vote either, especially with like the way that played out. I thought Todd at least would have like voted out Cynthia, but that's not what happened.
Yeah. Yeah, I was definitely shocked about that.
Yeah.
In his interview, he says he's a little surprised with the vote and thought Shayna would vote for him to stay, and he says he knew the odds were stacked against him, but he wanted to shake up the house, and despite taking a risk, he felt it helped make the game a bit more fun.
Which he's right. It was definitely more exciting for that time.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
He said he hopes he played with integrity throughout the game.
Now, I want to bring up how when he sees Todrick's like goodbye message, he talks about respect and things like that. And yeah, I mean, I think Todrick definitely just has like a huge lack of respect. Something I do want to bring up is that apparently Todrick like said to Chris Kirkpatrick, like, you're not a good father. You're going to make your children upset. And it's like, there's no reason to go that far. Like you're literally just playing.
Gross. I hate.
Yeah, like you're literally just playing a social strategy game. Like there's no reason to take it to that level. And I think that's really like Todrick's issue right now is that he frequently will use like personal like things against people, whether it's like a relative, whether it's like something that's important to them, he'll use that against them. But then he also just has like this terrible jury management where he seems to forget that everything that he is saying, the other house guests are also going to see. And I think it's really going to cost him in the end. Like, again, I'm pretty sure Todrick is getting to the end of this game, but there's no way he's winning this game. No way.
Oh, not at all.
I kind of want to see him get to the end just to see him like get 0 votes because I think it'd be funny. But
I mean, he'd probably get. Yeah, Miesha's probably the only person who would vote for him
if she's not there with him.
That's true. And then the episode ends on an endurance comp in which the winner will be announced on Sunday.
Yeah, obviously we'll talk about who ended up winning that on the Monday eviction. But yeah, overall, not the most exciting week. Got a little bit more exciting towards the end, I think,
Yeah, a little bit.
with what ended up happening. But really at this point, I need more spice. Like, I think that's really where I'm at this point. I need something more exciting. I need to see this power structure brought down, and I'm just not sure it's really going to happen. I'm not sure if anyone's going to be willing to like take those necessary shots that have to happen. Like, I want to see Carson and Cynthia and Shayna, dominate this game. Mainly because for me, those are the only three that are like playing good games at this point. Those are the only three that like are actually, I think doing okay. Like Lamar too. Lamar is doing all right for the most part, but like everyone else, I am just not really a fan of. I don't think they've played the game very well. I don't think they're necessarily fun to watch either. And yeah, just overall, not really feeling this season at the moment. But yeah, anything else you want to say before we wrap things up?
I don't dislike this season, but I mean, it has a lot of frustrating things, but I mean, hopefully the end is good, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, so other than that's it for our review of this week of Celebrity Big Brother 3. As always, comment down below and let us know what you guys thought of this week. We only have like a few more weeks to go. This always goes by so quickly. There's like, there's 7 people left, right?
I think so.
Yeah, Shayna, Cynthia, Carson, Todd, Lamar, Miesha, Todrick. Yeah, there's 7. Yeah, that's 7 right there. So yeah, we'll have to see how the rest of the season does play out. But that's really it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We will see you guys in our next video, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.